That everything, everybody still stays vigilant and
We're getting our shots next week. No, Mike set it up for me because he wanted us to do it the same time on Thursday, so we have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if we don't feel good. He said if we don't have anything but a sore arm, we're good. But if we don't feel good, we want to make sure we can still go back to work Monday.
I'll tell you afterwards my story.
Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, wait until after I get the shot.
Oh no, I'm telling you right now. After this, we got
Okay. I might go home with a
Okay.
different attitude.
Oh no, but you'll be prepared.
I'll be a little bit prepared. Well, I would like that.
Okay.
I would really appreciate that.
Mhm. All right. Call to order the regular council meeting for the town of Evansville. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Chad Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Candace Machado. Here. Councilmember Michael Scott.
Here.
Councilmember Kathy Stryker.
Here.
Town Attorney William Scott. Here. Town Attorney Shane Porter.
Here.
Town Planner Scott Webb.
Here.
Town Treasurer Lexi Erickson. Here. Chief of Police Mike Thompson.
Here.
Fire Chief Bill Wilson.
Here.
Public Works Director Paul Hanson.
Here.
Town Clerk Chanel for the listed citizens.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. I have a second.
Moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 1, the consent agenda. Approval of the regular meeting minutes for February 22nd, 2021. Approval of business licenses. A Bar J Construction, Casper Storage, Living Water Plumbing, and Scorpio Logistics. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Approved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 2, ordinance number 1, 2021.
Mr. Mayor, the council brought before you tonight is an ordinance fixing the tax levy for 2021 and providing an effective date. Therefore, this ordinance is brought before you tonight on third and final reading. It passed on first reading the 8th of February, passed on second reading the 22nd of February. And this is the property tax assessed upon the real property located within the town of Evansville, Wyoming, as an 8-year levy, also known as the general tax to meet the current expenses of the town, brought before you tonight for third and final reading.
Discussion? Do I have a motion to pass or to approve ordinance 1-2021? I'll motion that. Do I have a second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance number 2, 2021.
Mr. Mayor and Council, brought before you tonight is an ordinance 2-2021. This is an ordinance amendment updating the Evansville Employee Handbook and the policies that have either been updated or added is employee hiring, background checks policy, employee mental health policy, workplace drug and alcohol testing policy, and whistleblower and special reporting policy, and it's brought before you tonight on second reading.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2, 2021?
Motion it.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are a little ahead of schedule.
So we will need to jump down to a discussion on land sale.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump items number 4 and 5 and move on to 6 since we're going by a little quick tonight. So this is the discussion of the potential land sale and development. I believe we have a presentation this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Peter Nicolason, with the developer North Platte Park Development LLC. We have a proposed layout for the acreage that the town owns, and I don't know how to display it. I don't know if we need to, but is it maybe okay if I set it on one of these tables? And if there are questions, I can refer to it. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. Tonight isn't a public hearing. It's just, I think, more of an informal session for council and for members of the public to at least have a better understanding of what the proposed development might look like. We have not acquired the parcel from the town of Evansville. It's not under contract. We've made a proposal to acquire it and hope that it does move forward. One thing that the public and council need to be aware of is that there's quite a bit of engineering. And by the way, can everybody hear me okay with this mask? If you can't, maybe I can pull it down. But for now, I'll continue. So there's quite a bit of engineering that needs to be done. We've engaged WLC to assist us with that. Specifically, the engineering that we're most keen to learn more about is groundwater and the influence of that in terms of the development. And that will really tell us where basements are appropriate, where garden level basements are appropriate, and where no basements are appropriate. And we think that based on preliminary information that as you move to the south, basements will be more workable. But that's some engineering technical work that needs to be done that we would move forward with if this project goes under contract. The developer consists of a couple individuals that have development experience in Natrona County and with the town of Evansville or inside the town of Evansville. We think that experience is going to lead to a good development that's in the town's best interest and will increase property values and be a nice subdivision. We think there's demand for single-family residential lots, and we think that this parcel is ideally situated based upon where it is, and that other use is probably going to remain limited. We think that this is the highest and best use. Now, it's going to take some dirt work. There is currently a detention or retention pond toward the south end of this parcel. The proposal is to take dirt from the town of Evansville property to the north of this parcel and use that for both fill, but also then use that property adjacent to the north for a retention area. We think that we can work with both the town and WLC to design something that is attractive, and then allows for some grading that makes that area north of this property more usable for the town and members of the public. It's of course right next to the park, the existing park. The proposal includes 83 lots at present. We think that is workable economically, but more importantly, in terms of how it's going to fit in with. Thank you. This is Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler is working with us and is a key member of the team. And these parcels, these lots are between 6,800 square feet and there's an 11,500. There are a few on the corners and in some of the areas that are over 11,000 square feet. On average, it's 7,500 square feet, which is consistent with what you have in the adjacent subdivisions to the south and to the east. We look forward to working with the town as this thing moves forward, assuming it does. The current pathway that is on the west side of the property and west of the property will remain in place. Vehicular traffic, motorized traffic will be rerouted to come inside the subdivision. It kind of bows just inside the one row of lots. We do plan to build a connection to the park with a gravel road there, and it's depicted on this. It's actually down here, down toward the bottom of what Mr. Tyler's displaying. So we'd make this connection. It would be a gravel road to connect with an existing gravel road. This area here is the area of the retention pond, although please understand, and as it's stated on here, what it will finally look like remains to be seen based upon the engineering studies that will tell us what requirements we have. The pathway runs, like as I indicated, on the west side of the property, and that will remain intact. I think that's about all I have for an initial presentation. I'm ready to answer questions and respond to what members of the public might have, if necessary, at your pleasure. Are there any questions for me at this point? Thank you.
Question. So I know when we originally had talked, the thought was that where you've got the retention pond down there would a lot of that be funneled over to the existing pond that's on the eastern side of that, which would open this up to a pretty large field, grassy area, which you all would seed and grasses. That changed, or are you still thinking that that's
what our objective would be.
Okay.
It still depends on engineering.
Sure.
How much this area would have to be dedicated to retention. We have that existing retention area, like you indicated, to the east. Hopefully that could be enlarged, and we could just, by way of an open drainage, continue over to that, which would provide some additional retention. And so the combination of the two might be enough that most of this field would be above the level of the retention pond, except in the rare event of a 100-year flood event. And so it would be suitable for playing fields and that sort of use.
Okay.
I think
And I might-
one of the things that we plan to incorporate at the request of the town is making sure the water line is extended to the end of the paved street. So
Okay.
it's easy to connect on, so we have access to water to develop for that program.
That was my next question, but you already answered it. So thank you for that. The only other question I have is, you have a proposal for 83 lots at this time is what you're looking at. I'm sure that just with what you've already looked at, you have a little bit of an idea of how many houses will have basements or how many houses won't, or how many will be single level or townhomes. Do you have any of that information of just?
Well, the zoning won't allow townhomes.
Okay.
Okay. We are going to
Well, I guess that's not entirely accurate. We are requesting a rezoning to R2 instead of R1 so that we can, our smallest lot on here is shown to be at the very bottom, and then 6,800 square feet. And unfortunately, I think that's just below the threshold for your R1. We're willing to commit to, we'll do no townhouses on any of the project, but we'd like to have the R2 zoning so that those lots can remain the same size. Otherwise, we're going to lose approximately 3 lots to make everything big enough where it all fits.
Okay, that makes sense then.
So they're going to be single family, very similar to
What we have now.
So
Okay,
I would estimate that we'll have about a third that will have full basements, a third that will have the garden level basements, and a third more that will be no basements of any kind.
and that's just an estimate, I know, because you have to, if we go further, you'll have to get into deeper with the engineering to find out what we can or can't do.
And it'll be
Okay.
based on exact elevations. The engineers tell us that groundwater level rises to during high water flows of the river. So we don't make sure that we're above that. So when the river level rises, which is what drives most of the groundwater issues in this area, when that rises, it does rise to people's basements.
Okay,
Like some of the things we had discussed about the water issues, Shane might be able to jump in here a little bit, but some of the areas down in that, the Reshaw area and things like that, where we had problems, we're actually building below that elevation level
okay,
that's set, and that would be set with Shane, the town engineer, to make sure that we don't go below that. And then it's my understanding all the builders will have to obtain a certified elevation certificate of their-
From an engineer.
from an engineer prior to them building.
okay.
So we'll take care of that. And then I believe you all decided an extra step forward is that each of these houses would also be equipped with a sump
Hole.
hole, just so that if in the future something changed or something was necessary, that it was already built into each of the structures.
So they could purchase a sump pump and it would already be set up.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, that answers all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for
Sure. I know we've had a lot of discussion, so I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with everything we've discussed in that
Yep.
regard.
very good.
Any questions?
How are you planning with the plumbing?
All the plumbing has to be approved on it, so that's less plumber. These housing standards. What answer your question?
Some connections. Where would those be routed to?
Well, they'll be routed to the surface of the property. We don't have the ability, and we don't want to have them access to the sanitary sewer system because that overloads the lift stations. And if they're draining from the surface onto the street, that's ultimately what can happen. But there's enough saturation in most of those soils out there that the property itself covers most of it.
Along with the engineering on the grade work, would they be looking at lift station capacity?
Yes, and they've done
Currently
some
have.
preliminary review for us just to make sure that we can actually do the subdivision. They'll have to do an actual report. And that has to be reviewed by DEQ. So, the VLC will do a report saying what the capacity is and what our needs are. That will be submitted along with the other plans for the subdivision to DEQ for the plan.
So this is upside down. Where's the, is the town houses you were talking about, are they in the top?
There's no townhouses.
Oh, I thought you were saying,
No, no
or,
townhouses.
twin house?
No townhouses.
Okay.
The zoning would allow that, but we're willing to have an agreement so that we won't build any exceptions.
Okay. That's what I was hoping.
The
Yeah.
town's request was to keep it on R1 to make sure that would happen, but in order to have this configuration, we've already lost some lots from some earlier planning. We wanted to have a couple of 1,600 months of volume that would have gotten for the nobody's going to last. They're going to be smaller houses because they're going to be geared more towards the singles or elderly couple or something like that.
Like on the, well, you go to the R2 on the Peter Shaw side, cottage homes going up. Not Peter Shaw,
Not Reshaw, but you.
or Wicksaw, sorry, Wicksaw.
When I was in there, Reshaw was also.
Yeah, the cottage homes on the west side.
No. The Eagle Estates has.
Am I correct? If we were to move forward with council today, we would negotiate a contract which would basically have a 60-day window for you all to do the engineering, come up with the more final concepts, which would then come back, determine whether it's doable by you, and as well come back to council for a final approval before everything is finalized. Is that correct?
That's our plan. We would work on the contract, try to get it submitted to you and your council's review. And then what your next council meeting will do would be approved. You would have conditions that the due diligence would be completed before we close.
Any other discussion?
I have none.
Thoughts? Guess do we have a motion to move forward?
My motion.
Or a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. I marked the wrong one. We will come back around now to the public hearing for the text amendment 1-2021 amendment to the zoning. Scott?
Okay, it's 8 pages. Just kidding.
You can condense it.
Yeah, I will. Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. Yeah, I'm just gonna generally speak on the first section of this, and then if you have any questions, I do want to touch on some of the things that we discussed earlier. So this text amendment would be adding UR and UA, which is urban ag residential and urban ag zoning districts, to Article 5, and edits to all references of mobile homes in Articles 3 through 6 of our current zoning ordinance. In line with possible future annexation of some of the agriculture-based properties adjacent to Evansville, it would be in the interest of the town to adopt zoning districts that would accommodate current uses on those lands. Currently, though, there are several areas within Evansville growth boundary that are adjacent to the existing corporate limits that have greater agricultural uses than what is currently allowed by any of the town's existing zoning districts. And by adding these to our current regulations, it would allow for a smoother transition in annexing properties with domestic hoofed livestock, horses, and other allowable animals within these types of districts. So with that being said, we did implement these two districts over in Mills before annexation of a pretty large area. It made life a lot easier. Telling people that you're going to zone them and they have animals, they automatically assume that you're going to just take over and that's going to be it. So this is kind of, for example, and not to say that we are looking at it, I mean, it's a possibility, but Brookhurst would be an example. There's that rural living, but you know, they've got some animals in there that wouldn't be allowed normally within the town of Evansville. So that would be a good option. Some of these other agricultural lands between I-25 and Yellowstone, it's grazing land. Can it be developed? Can it be rezoned down the road? Absolutely. But this would at least make a nice transition, especially in taxes. So you're not just calling it out industrial. and then having a bunch of people really upset at you. So with these additions, and hopefully you had a chance to take a look at them, there's still room for changes between now and the third reading. So if there's things, these were based off the county, manipulated a little bit to be more town friendly, but it still offered most of the permitted uses, conditional uses that you would see in a more urban scenario than what you'd see out in the county. So also looking at essentially the change of mobile homes, which has been a term that most people have been used to for a long time. We don't have mobile homes technically anymore. That was was 74, the HUD, pre-HUD. So now this is just taking the word mobile home, and we're still leaving it, the definition, in our regulations, just because we do have a couple stragglers out there from way back in the day. But for the most part, we're just trying to update it with verbiage saying manufactured home. So any of the references from mobile home parks, we'll just manufactured home parks. Will people still call it mobile home parks? Probably, or trailer parks and different things like that. But that's just something that is just a lot easier. It's more palatable on being a little bit more politically correct, because it's definitely a difference between mobile homes and manufactured homes. So that is what we are adding in there. As far as, there was one section in there we kind of caught after the fact. So we're going to ask the council to probably look at that and maybe have our attorney review it to make sure that we're covered correctly. But on page 6 of my report, under district classifications, I believe, I'm sorry, 4.1, in general of the definitions, we had a section in there, it's crossed out in the report. It says all mobile homes 20 years or older are prohibited from being moved to the town of Evansville or into. Upon submittal of the application to set up a mobile home in the town of Evansville, Public Works will make a recommendation as to whether the structure is required to meet a habitability inspection to verify the quality of the home prior to the approval of relocation. For one, I don't think Public Works wants to go give that. We do use the county as our inspectors. There is a compliance inspection that's part of this. One of the things we discussed is the 20-year rule. It's been something in use, I think, probably since the time of the early 90s around here anyway. They just didn't want older non-HUD mobile homes coming in. Over time, we've found that occasionally you do find people that really take care of their mobile homes, and they could be over those 20 years. And so one of the things we were discussing is, do we want to put an actual limit on how the years or the age of that home, versus leaving that open and saying regardless of it, it has to meet compliance inspections? Because you can get a 10-year home coming in that may not meet those compliance inspections. So that's one of the things that the mayor and I and Janelle and some of the people, we've been doing this a long time, and we see these things. And so that's something maybe we want to review and make sure that we're covered, but we definitely want to incorporate what the county has as far as compliance inspections. And we want to make sure that legally it's covered. I know this is in a definition section, which is kind of odd, but as long as it's in our ordinance, then we can use that. But we definitely want to kind of look at that particular one and see if we can come up with some verbiage that's going to work for future use as far as compliance and in our zoning.
I might add, I got some language today from the Nechana County Building Department that will be forwarded on to everybody probably tomorrow.
Awesome.
That talks about, the definitions of those manufactured homes. And he did say that we may not want to require a code compliance inspection on every home. I think the permit fee is like $150.
Well, like I always say, liability, put that on somebody else. I don't know, $150. I mean, if it's a new home, absolutely, that wouldn't make any sense. Or if it maybe, within a certain age period, we wouldn't require that. They can send pictures and we'd probably go, wow, it looks great. Within 5 years old, the chances of that being out of compliance would be limited. But, still, it's amazing what some people can do, especially like punching holes in their floors. I've seen some things. I've seen some 1980 trailers that I just blew me away. They were nicer than my house. They were hickory. It's like, wow. And then you see some of these newer ones and it's like they had pets that destroyed the floors and everything else, and they're just covering it up with books. So it's one of those things. But yeah, I think if we came up with a rule that worked for that was the council was comfortable with, yeah, absolutely. I think that would be good. And then obviously have your legal assistance make sure that you're covered, your liability and everything else is covered effectively. Other than that, do you have any questions on the rest of my long report?
The only thing I have a question about is if we took away the 20-year, and like Janelle was saying, the $150 to get it checked to make sure it was to code to move here, that is on them, correct? I think if we take away the 20-year, we have to have that. We have to have something to cover what comes in to Evansville.
And it costs a lot to move the trailers. It costs a lot to do all sorts of things. So I mean, you're talking $150 just to make sure you're not getting a termite infected or mold infected, hazard. So I think that's, as well as I do, we spend that on our phones some months. So $150 is probably pretty reasonable just to get a liability check to bring into the town.
Who would do that? Would that be put on somebody here in town to do those, or would it be?
It would be the
Okay.
county, but for them, do they have to bring it to the port of entry and then have it inspected there or off-site? That's what I've never known. Because if they're hauling it from Sheridan or somewhere, I was just curious because just the amount of money to come down here, I don't know what that would cost, $3,000. I don't know what they charge, but yeah, how do you get that spec? Can you have a compliance inspection from another county do that?
See, I'd want to know that before we took out the 20-year. We need to know who would. We need
Like
to
I
have
said,
it
I
put
think
in there who
regardless
would do
of the
it.
20-year, to me we still would require compliance inspections even at 15 years, 10 years maybe. But that's where I think we were saying is maybe there's a time limit to where we say, well, it should be good, but.
So 5 years. Just come up with something that would.
I think that's what we're going to have to decide is where is that limit? And then, to me, the 20 years is an arbitrary number.
It
It's
is.
just thrown out there.
Yes.
So I'd be more comfortable if we had somebody looking at the properties, making sure that
Yes.
it's.
And
That's-
maybe the
right.
county would offer their opinion as well to say what, because they're the ones that have run into the problems. What would be a reasonable time period to not require that, or?
I think it also.
Good to have it maybe with Justin.
Yeah, and it may
Yes.
be worthwhile because I'm sure they deal with this whole I'm moving my trailer from out of state in, how do they handle?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And plus, I mean, like I said, we have, from his meeting, now we have 2 more readings. So we have a little bit of time to get that information and I think come up with something that's going to work. I don't deal with this, but I know Public Works really doesn't want to go out there. They got other things they're busy with. So. But we sign off on these things, but we're really going off of what the county inspectors are saying. So
Scott, I have a question. In that sentence on 4.1, is it supposed to say not in compliance with national manufacturing housing construction?
let me pull it. Let's see. Above there, built on a permanent chassis and not in compliance with the, I don't know, that was what I think I pulled out of there. We'll have to look at it.
That would be the definition because a mobile home was not in compliance with the 1974.
Not in compliance. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. So it's not complying with the National Manufacturer Housing Construction and Safety Standards of 74. That was basically the HUD Act or whatever. So anything after that, they had, I think a lot of that was like they were using the copper electrical wiring versus, yeah, I mean, and so when you move those, it stretches and can cause problems. So they made them do different things. But I think even since that, I mean, the new standards have gone up. So
I think whatever we come up with here with what we're going to allow, my thought is, Leah, that it probably would go in a different section because this here is the definition of mobile home, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about what we're going to require of a manufactured home to come in. So I would think it would probably fit a little somewhere else.
yeah, we could pull this out completely, just have the mobile home definition, and then maybe under building and construction or administrative or permitting, some of those other administrative sections or articles, then that might fit better. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I think people that just like, we need to find a spot. They found a spot for it, but yeah, normally I don't think it makes that much sense in the definition. So, but any more questions? I'm only here for a limited time only. And if you do have any questions, please email me. I'm on most of your emails, so just shoot me a question, and that's what I'm there for.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments regarding the text amendment to zoning? Any public comments regarding the text amendment to zoning? Public comments? All right. Do I have a motion to approve? Actually, yeah, because we don't even have an ordinance here, so.
I kept the two separate.
Okay,
So the next item would be the ordinance 3-2021. This is an ordinance amending the zoning regulations on first reading. And this ordinance defines exactly what was in your staff report about the added language or the text amendment changes to that zoning. And it would be brought before you tonight on first reading.
all right. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 3-2020? First reading. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 7, abatement of 4680 East Yellowstone Highway. Chief?
If I may approach.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor Council. So give you a little pack here. As you're looking at these photos, first photo is the trailer in question that we're going to discuss, followed by, and that particular picture was taken, it was November 4th, if I remember correctly. And then the last two here, you'll see the one with the little notice posted on the window. That was taken today, 3/8/21. And the one with the door, just referencing the condition relating to what we're going into the abatement, shows the glass missing in the door. This is a new development. So as you go through after your photos, there's going to be a brief email that you can read from Lena Stadelli, an attorney that we contracted for this particular abatement issue, being there was a conflict with our current town attorney's firm. Just mentioning. Anyways, so after the email, you'll see a letter from Wellborn, Sullivan, Meck, and Tooley. This notice was posted on that, as you can see in the photo. Basically, what she said is, and relating beyond this notice, you'll see the court order declaring a public nuisance is the last portion of their packet right there. So we started this process, Chief Malsom and I, here back in November, shortly after a resident fell through the floor in there. I didn't provide you photos of the inside of the trailer. It's pretty disgusting, but fell through, was laying there for, I think, was it 5 days? 4 or 5 days before the landlord came discovering him. He since has relocated to some apartments downtown, courtesy of, is it the mission shelter? I can't remember. Yeah, rescue mission. Anyways, there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no gas. So Chief Malsom and I went over, Chief Malsom submitted a report. We used the attorney's firm, went through district court. The district court gave us a ruling. And by the order declaring public nuisance, it's like March 26th, but with this particular one, she sent a certified letter to the landowner who statutorily is responsible for the cleanup of properties. They chose not to accept that. And so according to attorney, she said, post this on there in 3 days, we can abate it. So it's been posted just over 2 weeks. I tried to give paperwork in person to the guy. I didn't find him around town in the last couple of weeks. And so with that, I present to you for abatement this particular property. And Chief Malsom can also talk a little more in part about the condition of the trailer if you have questions of him as well.
And who is paying for this?
Well, at this point, because the landowner and the trailer owner are not taking care of the abatement, we would pay for it at this point. And through that process, we would ask for bids. And then whoever gives us the lowest bid would then clean it up. And then at that point, our town clerk, Janelle Underwood, would send out a bill to them. And if they refuse to pay it, there's other options at that point. So
Basically, if we have to pay it up front, we're going to go after them to pay for it.
that's why I'm presenting to you, because at this point, they have not taken care of it. So the trailer, and then there's what's not in the photo. So on the side over here, there's a little RV that's riddle of mouse dung, and it's open for rodents going in and out of. And so there's the garbage. So that's owned by Mr. Frank Sayes. He's the one that is no longer residing there, lives downtown in the apartments. And then, of course, Mr. Curtis Fortin is the landowner of said property. So under the statute, he is ultimately responsible for that. Now, the civil matter, he can try to get money out of Frank, but well, that probably won't ever happen. So anyways, so that's why I'm presenting it to you at this point, because it's not been taken care of. So if we want to abate this nuisance for the health.
I agree, this needs to be taken care of immediately, because you've already bent over backwards to try to get the landowner to take care of it.
That's kind of my thoughts. The inside of this is there's I have other photos. I didn't want to kill a tree for you, but I'll talk about it. So when you're up close to the property, you can see where soot came out of these windows from a fire inside, where he was basically using to keep himself warm because he has no utilities to it. And then these doors, like shouldn't even enter this place without a hazardous suit. It's horrendous inside. There's bags of garbage hanging from the ceiling. The stuff is piled from floor up to the ceiling on the corners. You can't freely walk through this. This particular door, so when you open the door, there's a hole right there it's about probably that big around that goes right, you can see right to the ground in it. And when we were there with the medical team, his story is he fell through the floor and then he like injured his leg, fell backwards, couldn't get up. So we had to force our way in, and the fire guys, they had to go in the back door to get to him because you couldn't open the door with the way he was laying. And I know within the ordinance, there's provisions that you have to have electricity, running water, and whatever else Leo pointed out. So
is the tenant abandoning the RV as well?
the tenant failed or chose not to respond to the court when they filed. So in a sense, it's a default for us. And then Curtis Fortin chose not to respond or go to the court either. And so she sent a certified letter. He never claimed it. Now, due to other issues we had last year, I also know that it's considered delivered after 3 days of being sent. But though it's Mr. Fortin, that's just what he does. He just doesn't do stuff. So.
Well, and it clearly states in here to remove the mobile home and the pull behind trailer along with debris. So as far as the law goes, that has been abandoned, correct?
Yeah, my Mr. Sayers, he's not living there, has no desire to return. The mission folks, I can't remember the guy's name, he helped him get into the apartment downtown Casper because he was sick enough from the black mold in the trailer that he decided after being in the hospital he didn't want to go back. It's definitely a health hazard. You can, and if you guys want, I can print the other photos, but the skirting on the sides is gone. The insulations is hanging or missing. There's junk and debris all underneath the trailer. On the one side, you can see where the water's not connected or the electricity, and I think the gas was on I guess it was on this side over here. And yeah, east side. So.
You don't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's basically a public hazard also.
And that's why
Look at it.
we're at this point, it's a safety.
With the court order, it was declared a fire hazard and a public hazard.
Okay.
We did abate a couple of trailers over here last year.
Mhm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, I think that was around $9,000 to abate those two. So
Lot, which
I would-
there was, 9,800. There was a little more stuff to deal with on this one. There was one trailer slightly larger than this, and then one about half the size of it, plus some other stuff. Where this one, it's just basically a trailer and a small RV.
So a quick estimate, you think probably about 5? Maybe get a bid on it for that?
Yeah, it's the idea of the bid process because
Right.
somewhere in there they have to determine if there's asbestos and stuff in there, and if there's asbestos, it takes a whole different route of abating.
Okay.
Costs more obviously. So that's part of that process.
any other discussion?
Well, I do have a question for legal over there.
I don't know if I can answer questions related to this because I'm conflicted out, so.
Okay.
Call or email.
Okay.
They
It's,
also, you have a conflict with the owner of the property.
yeah, property
Okay.
owner. So hence why I pointed out the email and using Elena Stadelli.
But I know Elena would be happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same process we went through with the Oklahoma address, just different attorney involved because of the conflict. And
Okay.
Leo and we go through this and we take photos and he writes up all the fire code stuff and all that kind of stuff. And in reference to like other nuisance stuff in town, we go forward, we look, landowner or the renter, we start with them, try to issue citations. Now this is beyond citations, not something we write a citation for. So hence the district court ruling, because we've went through that process. She represented the town in district court. And with that, the district court gave the ruling for him.
So I have a question for the mayor, if I may. Chad, with the two that we did last year, did we get any funds back from that, or what ended up coming from that?
I think we ended up, did we place a lien on the property?
No. We sent out notice of intent to file.
We're actually still working through that.
Okay.
That's the next step, is if we don't get reimbursed from the property owner, the town would place a lien on the property itself.
It was
Okay.
late November when that property was abated. So we're still through the process of sending a bill, working through the civil side of it. And then if we don't get repayment, then we file a lien. So we're in a limbo area.
My concern would be how many other families are around there. So
Yes.
that's what we have to really think about
I know.
too.
And I was trying to see that in the picture, and I see there are some, they're not on top of them, but there are other ones.
So this trailer, I'll just. So you have Evans Street right here,
Mhm.
and so you're right here, so you got the railroad tracks, you come all the tracks, so this 1213 area right here.
Okay.
So it's right here, so you have 3 other trailers here. One I know has kids here, then you have William Street, there's 2 residents here, and then over in Texas, you have, or Oklahoma, you have Ceres here, you have the Bubbles R Us and Coffee Grind and Ash. So there, and what's left of the Aspens, you have a lot of those people at transit on this side of the tracks. You have
Yes.
all these residents. This is the main thoroughfare in and out to the school area as well. So not only is it a safety hazard to our community, it's also an eyesore because you've got Yellowstone Highway that looks at it.
Okay.
And I believe the lot next door to it, when was that abated
That wasn't abated,
Or-
that was done, yeah.
burnt down?
Yeah, actually.
Abated, burnt down? Yeah. So there's an open lot next to it that had an old trailer burned down years ago. So
And does this person who owns this lot, do they own any more lots around surrounding area?
oh yes.
Okay. Are we having issues with any other places with this same person?
This particular landowner has a very special Facebook page to himself for the entire Natrona County, to include K2 News doing a whole segment on him last year because of how he operates.
Okay.
So yes, there are other issues.
Other discussion?
No.
Council like to make a motion to move forward, or do you want to have time to answer?
I think all my questions have just about been answered. I don't think that the question I had for Elena is going to apply at this point with further information. So I'm ready to move forward.
So a motion to move forward with abating this property.
Motion to move forward.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Chief, if you would, get us some quotes.
Coach, thank you.
All right, public comments. Do you have any public comments this evening? Public comments? Public comments. All right, no public comments. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. 7:52. Anybody wanted, here's all the documents.